Ladies and gentlemen, let me tell you something that will shake you to your core. Attraction is not about looks, it's not about charm, and it's not about luck. It's about energy. It's about the way you show up when you walk into a room, the certainty you carry in your voice, the power you radiate without saying a single word. And here's the truth. If you're drowning in negative thinking, if you're doubting your worth, you are repelling the very things you crave. But the moment you kill those thoughts and step into your true power, you don't just get noticed, you become unforgettable. And imagine this for a moment. You walk into a room and every part of your being radiates confidence, energy, and presence. People feel it before you even speak. They sense something magnetic, something powerful, something irresistible. That is the energy that makes others notice you, that makes them lean in, that makes them curious about who you are. It's not about tricks, manipulation, or pretending to be someone you're not. It's about aligning with the deepest part of yourself, destroying the voice of doubt, and stepping into a version of you that demands to be seen, felt, and remembered. And the truth is, attraction doesn't begin with the other person. It begins with you. It begins with the thoughts you allow yourself to believe, the stories you repeat in your mind, and the state you choose to live in. If you've been stuck in cycles of negative thinking, telling yourself you're not enough, you're not attractive enough, you're not worthy enough, you are literally building walls around your own power. Those thoughts don't just affect you internally, they project outward. They shape the way you carry yourself, the tone of your voice, the energy you give off. And let me tell you, energy is everything. And when you walk around thinking, he doesn't want me, your entire body broadcasts reject it on before it even happens. You sabotage yourself before you even give yourself a chance. But when you decide to kill those negative patterns and shift into a state of certainty, when you make the decision that you are valuable, magnetic, and absolutely worth noticing, everything changes. Your shoulders pull back, your chest opens, your eyes brighten, your smile feels authentic, and suddenly you're no longer chasing someone's attention. It's being drawn to you like gravity. And you see, the human mind is powerful beyond belief. We don't get what we want. We get what we believe we deserve. If deep down you believe you're not good enough, no amount of pretending on the outside will sustain attraction. But if you rewire your thinking and step into a place of complete certainty, people feel it at a subconscious level. It creates a shift. Suddenly, even those who told themselves they weren't interested begin to notice something different, something they can't quite explain but can't ignore either. That's the secret. Change your inner world and the outer world will bend to meet it. And so, how do you make any man want you, even if he doesn't think he wants to? You start by no longer making it about him. You stop obsessing over what he thinks, how he feels, or what he might say. You shift the focus inward. You build a life so full, so powerful, so rich in purpose and joy that anyone who steps into your orbit feels like they've been pulled into something greater than themselves. That's how attraction works. It's not about begging, convincing, or proving. It's about embodying something so magnetic that resistance becomes impossible. And think about this. People don't want to be around those who drain them, who constantly question their worth, who radiate neediness. But they are drawn like fire to those who radiate certainty, passion, and joy. The moment you stop needing someone else to validate you, you become the kind of person people desperately want to validate. The moment you stop waiting for someone else to choose you, you become the kind of person everyone wants to choose. And this is about energy, but it's also about standards. If you carry yourself as someone who accepts scraps, you'll attract people who treat you like scraps. But if you embody someone who knows their worth, who demands excellence, who refuses to entertain negativity, you'll attract those who rise to meet you. And the ones who didn't even see you before, they start to take notice because people can't ignore strength. They can't ignore light. They can't ignore someone who is alive with purpose. And now let's talk about negative thinking, because this is the killer of all attraction, all fulfillment, all joy. Negative thinking is like poison in your system. It distorts your perception, weakens your energy, and clouds your decisions. Every time you tell yourself you're not enough, you're carving deeper grooves into your brain that make it harder to break free. But here's the good news. Your mind is not fixed. Your brain is malleable. You can rewire it. You can destroy the old pathways of doubt and create new ones of confidence, power, and certainty. And how do you do it? By interrupting the pattern every time it arises. When that little voice says, he doesn't want me, you stand up taller and say, watch me. When your mind whispers, I'm not attractive enough, you look in the mirror and decide to embody the energy of someone irresistible. It's not about denying reality, it's about creating a new one. Because the reality you live is nothing more than the reality you choose to focus on. And here's the truth. The moment you shift your focus, you shift your state. You can't be grateful and fearful at the same time. You can't be certain and doubtful in the same breath. You have to decide which energy you're going to live in. Will it be the energy of fear, doubt, and lack? Or will it be the energy of certainty, strength, and abundance? And imagine yourself right now as someone who knows their worth completely. How would you stand? How would you speak? How would you look at the world? Would you shrink or would you expand? Would you hesitate or would you move forward boldly? When you embody that energy, you're no longer waiting for someone to want you. You become the person who sets the standard, who inspires desire simply by existing fully. And remember, attraction is not a game. It's not manipulation. It's alignment. When you're aligned with your true self, confident, passionate, alive, people feel it. They want to be a part of it. And even the ones who didn't think they wanted to, they begin to second guess that decision because something inside them says, I can't let this pass me by. And that is the power you have when you stop letting negative thinking control you. That is the magnetism you unleash when you kill the doubts and step into certainty. And that is how you make any man want you, not because you forced it, but because you became undeniable. And you have to understand something powerful. Human beings are wired to respond to emotion, to energy, to certainty. Logic rarely drives attraction. It's the unexplainable pull, the spark, the vibration that makes someone lean closer without even knowing why. And that spark is born in you the moment you decide to stop living in fear and step into your authentic power. When you think you're not wanted, you unconsciously send out signals that push others away. But when you carry yourself with conviction, when you embody joy and certainty, you flip the script. Suddenly, it's not about whether they want you, it's about whether they're strong enough to keep up with you. And the mistake most people make is believing they must convince someone to see their value. They twist themselves into shapes, change their personality, silence their needs, and diminish their light, all in the hope of being accepted. But here's the paradox. The more you sacrifice who you are to be wanted, the less attractive you become. True magnetism comes when you amplify who you really are, when you turn up the volume on your gifts, your laughter, your curiosity, your compassion, your fire. That's what makes people sit up and take notice. That's what flips I don't want this into I need to be a part of this. And think about it. How many times have you seen someone overlook a person at first only to find themselves later completely drawn in? What changed? Not the person's face, not their height, not the color of their hair. What changed was the energy, the certainty, the way they carried themselves. When you step into that energy, you don't chase attraction, you create it. But to do that, you must first eliminate the destructive habit of comparing yourself to others. The moment you say, she's prettier than me, or he would never want someone like me, you're giving away your power. You're measuring your worth by someone else's standards, and that destroys your ability to radiate. Every single human being carries a unique essence, a signature presence that no one else can replicate. When you own that, you become unforgettable. And so, how do you own it? You begin by conditioning your mind daily. Just like the body requires exercise to grow strong, the mind requires training to remain powerful. If you feed it doubt, fear, and negativity, you weaken it. But if you feed it certainty, gratitude, and strength, you unleash a force that transforms everything around you. Start your mornings with intention. Speak to yourself in a way that builds you up instead of tearing you down. Instead of saying, I hope they like me, say, I bring so much energy, so much life, so much love that people can't help but feel me. Instead of saying, I'm not enough, say, I am more than enough, and the right hope will rise to meet me. And when you repeat these truths, not just once, but over and over, you begin to reprogram your nervous system. Your body believes what your mind tells it. Your posture shifts, your tone strengthens, your eyes sharpen, and your very presence becomes magnetic. That's how you kill the weeds of negative thinking and replace them with seeds of unstoppable confidence. And now let's talk about something deeper. Attraction is not just about looks, not just about charm. It's about polarity. It's about the dance between certainty and curiosity, between passion and playfulness. People are drawn to those who embody both strength and openness, confidence and warmth. If all you radiate is strength, you may seem untouchable. If all you radiate is softness, you may seem forgettable. But when you combine both, when you can stand firmly in your power while also being playful, compassionate, and inviting, you create an irresistible balance. And let's get real. Life is too short to spend it waiting for someone else's approval. If you're waiting for someone to choose you, you've already given away your power. The truth is, you don't need to wait to be chosen. You are the chooser. You decide who gets access to your energy, your love, your time, and your presence. That shift alone will make people want you in ways they didn't before, because nothing is more attractive than someone who knows they are the prize. But here's the challenge. If you don't believe you're the prize, no one else will either. You can't fake this. You can't trick someone into attraction with temporary tactics. You have to build it from within, brick by brick, until it's unshakable. Every time you kill a negative thought and replace it with a powerful one, you lay another brick. Every time you catch yourself doubting and choose instead to focus on your strengths, you lay another brick. Every time you stop apologizing for who you are and start celebrating it, you lay another brick. Soon you've built a foundation so solid that nothing can shake it. Not rejection, not indifference, not even your own old fears. And think of the most magnetic people you've ever seen. What did they have? It wasn't just their looks. It was their presence. It was the way they walked into a room and made everyone feel like they belonged. The way they spoke with conviction. The way they carried themselves with certainty. That is what people crave. And the best part is, you can cultivate it. It's not reserved for the few. It's available to anyone willing to kill the negative patterns and step into power. And so let me ask you this. What story have you been telling yourself? Have you been telling yourself you're not enough? That he doesn't want you? That you're unworthy of love or attention? If so, that's the very thing repelling the experiences you desire. But you have the power to rewrite that story right now. You can choose a new narrative, one that says, I am worthy, I am magnetic, I am powerful, and I am more than enough. And when you truly embody that, the world responds. People feel it. Even the ones who told themselves they weren't interested begin to feel a shift. But don't do this for them. Do this for you. Because the moment you truly do it for yourself, the results with others happen naturally. The energy you radiate becomes undeniable, and people can't help but want to be a part of it. You stop being an option and start being a standard. You stop being a background thought and start being the one they can't stop thinking about. And here's another truth. Rejection doesn't define you, it refines you. Every no you faced was not a reflection of your worth, but a redirection toward the version of you that's unstoppable. When you stop making rejection personal, you liberate yourself. You realize that someone's lack of desire doesn't diminish your value. It simply reveals their inability to recognize it. And when you hold on to your certainty through it all, you create an aura so strong that the very people who once overlooked you can't help but look again. And so how do you make any man want you, even if he doesn't think he does? By becoming the fullest expression of who you are, by killing every thought that tells you you're not enough, by radiating certainty, joy, strength, and warmth in equal measure, by choosing to be the prize, the standard, the force that cannot be ignored. That is how you shift attraction. That is how you create magnetism. That is how you become undeniable. And when you stop waiting for someone else to validate you and instead decide to live as if you already are the person you've always wanted to become, the entire dynamic of your relationships changes. People no longer sense desperation or uncertainty in your energy. They sense strength, calmness, and an unshakable presence. And presence is everything. Presence is the difference between blending into the background and commanding a room without saying a word. Presence is the energy that says, I know who I am, I know what I bring, and I don't need anyone else to complete me. And that kind of presence makes people curious. It makes them question themselves. It makes them second guess their earlier assumptions about you. Even someone who once said they didn't feel drawn to you begins to feel a pull they can't logically explain. That's the power of living in alignment with who you really are. You no longer chase attention. Attention chases you. But let's get clear on something important. This doesn't mean pretending. It doesn't mean putting on a mask of confidence while secretly feeling broken inside. Real magnetism doesn't come from acting. It comes from becoming. When you do the work to kill the lies in your mind, when you destroy the limiting beliefs that have been holding you back, when you condition your nervous system daily to expect more, to demand more, to create more, you no longer have to fake anything. You embody it. And embodiment is irresistible. And the mind is like a garden. If you let weeds grow unchecked, they choke out the flowers. Negative thinking works the same way. It creeps in quietly, spreads quickly, and before you know it, it takes over everything. Thoughts like, I'm not good enough, he doesn't want me, I'll never have what I deserve, are weeds, and if you don't actively rip them out, they'll consume you. But here's the good news. You can plant new seeds, powerful ones. You can choose to plant thoughts like, I am worthy of love, I radiate confidence, I am the kind of person people are drawn to. And when you water those thoughts daily with intention and action, they grow. They take root so deeply that they become who you are, not just what you say. And this is how transformation happens, not in a single moment, but in the repetition of powerful choices. Every time you choose courage over fear, you rewire your brain. Every time you choose gratitude over comparison, you strengthen new pathways. Every time you choose to focus on your strengths instead of your shortcomings, you shift your entire emotional state. And state is everything, because state determines how you show up in every moment. And think about it. When you're in a state of doubt, you hesitate, you shrink, you second guess yourself. But when you're in a state of certainty, you expand, you take risks, you radiate energy that makes people pay attention. Attraction isn't about perfection. It's about the state you live in. You don't need to be flawless to be magnetic. You need to be alive, present, and certain. And this is where most people go wrong. They let their past define their present. They carry old wounds, old rejections, old heartbreaks like heavy baggage, and then they wonder why new opportunities slip away. But you can't attract something new while holding on to something old. You have to release it. You have to decide that what happened yesterday doesn't dictate who you are today. Every moment is a chance to reset, to step into a new version of yourself, to radiate a new energy that shifts everything. And imagine walking into a space with that energy. You're not scanning the room wondering if anyone likes you. You're not analyzing who's looking your way. You're centered, grounded, alive in your body, certain of your worth. That energy is so rare that people are compelled to notice. They want to be near it because it feels different. It feels real. It feels like freedom. And freedom is magnetic. The person who doesn't need approval, who doesn't beg for attention, who doesn't shrink in the face of indifference, that's the person who stands out. That's the person who makes others wonder, what is it about them? Why can't I stop thinking about them? And here's the beauty. Once you reach that place, you stop even caring whether they want you or not, because your focus has shifted inward. And that's exactly when they start leaning in. That's when they start chasing. That's when they realize they can't ignore you. And now let's talk about something powerful. Standards. You don't attract what you want. You attract what you tolerate. If you accept being ignored, dismissed, or undervalued, you'll keep experiencing it. But the moment you raise your standard and decide, this is what I deserve and I will not settle for less, everything changes. Suddenly people either rise to meet your energy or they fall away. And yes, some will fall away, but that's not a loss. It's a gain. It creates space for those who can truly meet you where you are. And when you hold that standard with conviction, something extraordinary happens. Even those who didn't see your value before begin to sense it. They notice the shift. They feel the change in your energy, and that change sparks desire. Because human beings are drawn to certainty, to strength, to those who demand more of themselves and the world around them. And the question is, are you willing to step into that version of yourself? Are you willing to kill the old story, to rip out the weeds of doubt, to plant the seeds of power and water them daily? Because if you are, you'll discover that attraction isn't about luck or chance. It's about alignment. Align your thoughts, your energy, your actions, and you'll radiate a frequency that can't be ignored. And let me remind you of this. People are always watching more than they're listening. They may not hear your affirmations, but they will feel the way those affirmations change your energy. They will feel the certainty in your tone, the confidence in your body language, the joy in your presence. And those feelings are contagious. That's why even someone who thought they didn't want you can suddenly find themselves pulled in, because feelings override logic every single time. And so the work is simple, but it's not always easy. Kill the negative thoughts. Condition your mind daily. Live in a state of certainty. Raise your standards. Embody the balance of strength and softness. And never, ever wait for someone else to validate your worth. Because the moment you stop waiting, the moment you step into your power fully, you create a magnetism that no one can deny. And when you choose to step into that kind of certainty, you stop asking, what if they don't want me? And you start asking, what if they can't resist me? That shift in perspective is massive, because it transforms the way you carry yourself in every interaction. When you operate from a place of doubt, you're cautious, hesitant, and you filter your every word and move through the lens of fear. But when you operate from a place of confidence, you're free, you're spontaneous, you're bold, you do and hold back. And that raw authenticity is what draws people in. Nobody is captivated by someone who hides. They're captivated by someone who shines. And the truth is, attraction is not about perfection, it's about energy. You've met people who seem flawless on the surface but fail to inspire any real interest. And you've also met people who don't fit the ideal mold but radiate such magnetic energy that everyone wants to be around them. That's the power of presence. That's the power of living fully aligned with who you are unapologetically. It's not about fitting into someone else's picture of desirable. It's about becoming so alive, so lit up from within that people feel compelled to lean closer. But here's where the challenge comes in. Your mind will try to sabotage you. It will whisper, what if I'm not enough? What if they don't see my value? What if I fail? Those thoughts are nothing more than echoes of past conditioning. They are not truths. They are old recordings. And the moment you identify them as recordings, you reclaim your power. You can interrupt them, rewire them, and replace them with something stronger. Every time you catch yourself in a spiral of negative thinking and choose instead to affirm your worth, you're not just changing your thoughts, you're rewiring your identity. And identity is destiny. The way you see yourself is the way you show up in the world. If you see yourself as unworthy, you'll unconsciously sabotage opportunities for connection. If you see yourself as magnetic, worthy, and powerful, you'll project that energy effortlessly. People don't just respond to what you say, they respond to who you are. They feel your certainty, they feel your conviction, they feel your energy. And this is why it's so critical to kill the habit of negative thinking once and for all. Negative thoughts don't just hold you back, they broadcast insecurity into the world around you. They turn down the volume on your natural radiance. And when you eliminate them, when you replace them with powerful life-giving beliefs, you unleash a frequency that others can't ignore. It's not about forcing someone to want you. It's about becoming the person whose energy is so magnetic that desire happens naturally. And think of it like this. If you walk into a room with your head down, your shoulders slumped, and your thoughts consumed with doubt, you'll fade into the background. But if you walk into that same room with your chest lifted, your eyes bright, your smile genuine, and your mind centered on your worth, the entire atmosphere shifts. People notice. They can't help but feel your presence because energy is contagious. You don't even have to say a word before others begin to respond to you differently. And this doesn't just apply to one person, it applies to everyone. When you live in that state of power, you become magnetic in every area of your life. Opportunities flow to you, connections deepen. Even the people who once dismissed you find themselves drawn back into your orbit because the transformation in your energy is undeniable. You stop trying to prove yourself and start embodying yourself, and that is what makes the difference. But let's take this even further. Attraction is not only about who you are in the moment, it's about who you're becoming. People are drawn to growth. They're drawn to individuals who are evolving, expanding, stepping into new levels of power and passion. When you're stagnant, you become predictable. But when you're constantly growing, constantly raising your standards, constantly breaking through your limitations, you radiate a sense of aliveness that is impossible to ignore. Growth is sexy. Expansion is magnetic. And when you commit to becoming more every single day, you naturally inspire others to want to be part of that journey with you. And so stop asking, what do I need to do to make them want me? And start asking, who do I need to become so that I am undeniable? Because when you become undeniable, you don't have to chase, you don't have to manipulate, you don't have to prove. You simply live in alignment with your highest self, and attraction follows naturally. Even the ones who told themselves they weren't interested will feel the pull because the energy of certainty overrides doubt every single time. And now let's talk about courage, because none of this works without courage. Courage to let go of old patterns. Courage to face the doubts that have been running your life. Courage to step into a higher standard and risk losing people who can't meet it. But here's the truth. When you find that courage, you don't lose anything. You gain everything. You gain freedom. You gain confidence. You gain an energy that transforms the way the world responds to you. And that courage doesn't come from waiting until you feel ready. It comes from acting in spite of fear. Fear will always be there. Doubt will always try to creep in. But when you act anyway, you build resilience. You build strength. And that strength becomes a part of your energy. People can feel it. They can sense that you've faced challenges and risen above them. And that makes you magnetic because strength is universally attractive. And remember this, people don't fall in love with perfection. They fall in love with authenticity, with passion, with the fire in your eyes when you speak from your soul. They fall in love with the way you carry yourself when you know your worth. They fall in love with the way you hold your standards high and refuse to settle for less. That's the energy that makes someone want you even if they didn't think they would. It's not about changing who you are. It's about unlocking the version of you that's been waiting underneath the doubt all along. And so kill the negative thoughts. Condition your mind daily. Step into courage. Live in growth. Radiate authenticity. Embody certainty.